Denise! Why is she leaving, Denise? Why?
Hey, what's up, y'all? We got the Wonder Pets here tonight. Are y'all excited? Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. All right, let me bring it to my other guests here tonight. The Reptilian Squad.
Hey guys! We're here with the Wonder Pets and we're so excited. We're ready to go on adventures with them. Are you guys ready?
You best be ready because you know what they're gonna do. They're gonna burn down the closest building with Bibble Nation here tonight. Are you excited?
Bibble Nation is with us tonight. They're with us and the Wonder Pets are with us and we're all gonna burn. Aren't you excited?
Burn, 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 baby.
Just like Usher.
Yeah. Usher.
Welcome back to the podcast, guys. I'm Christina, this is my brother Spencer, and we made this podcast to just show that communication is key in all aspects of life. If there's anything that we talk about on here that you would like to hear us talk about more of, or if there's something on here that we do not talk about that you would like our opinion on, you can always let us know on our social medias, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can let us know in the comments below. We're also on Spotify, so if you're on your daily jog or you know, you're getting hyped up for the Wonder Pets and Bibble Nation fight, just put in those earbuds, turn on some Spotify, or keep the earbuds out. Share it with everybody.
Yeah, let them know that Bibble Nation's there, okay? Let them know. Let them also know that it's on iTunes, SoundCloud. No, just kidding.
We're dropping some sick beats on there.
Yeah, Wonder Pets and featuring Bibble Nation. Yeah, iTunes, Rumble, any platform basically. We'll have it on there. We'll have shorts. Everything is now put together. We now all have similar cameras. So now the footage will finally be fixed unless it's any more technical errors on my end. And you can leave that in the comment section below too. Spencer, get your shit together. Okay? Yeah. So yeah, we're going to have more stuff coming. It's changed up. We got this now camera set up. Everything is changed for that. So yeah, but please like, share, subscribe. That really helps us, especially on Spotify, because Spotify, it's hard to get reach on there specifically, but it's definitely helpful, which we'll talk about a little bit today, what I learned in the music industry with it. So maybe not on Spotify. You'll see after today. But basically just on those other streams and platforms, if y'all are listening, we'll definitely see that. Yeah, but definitely share it with others if you find this information useful. But let's get into today's show. I did have something that happened today. We'll talk a little bit later about that. I did want to start off with the Spotify thing actually though. So in terms of listeners, so their CEO is a billionaire. He gets a lot of the money. He's like that corporate tyrannical individual that we know as most companies. And I'm not trying to just shoot at Spotify. I'm just stating the facts of how money's distributed. Costco has an evenly spread out one, which we've talked about in other episodes. But when it comes to streams for music, the amount that people make is insane. They barely make anything. Even if you were like the biggest artist on there, you were making nothing.
Cents.
Yeah, which our brother had discussed this because he was talking about that specifically with Spotify. And that's where I learned this information from because he's in the music industry. And he was talking about how people can have, like you can have like 100,000 listeners and you're barely making even that $100, maybe, probably way less.
That's why artists tour, because that's where they make their money is on tour. They don't make it from releasing albums.
Yeah, I mean they probably from selling them they do, but nobody but nobody gets actual copies anymore. Whereas beforehand they had that upper hand when it came to that in the music industry. But their labels too, the labels are going to give them money and sponsorships, but they can do that themselves too. They can go out there and venture.
I mean, artists have been more creative with like making CDs and vinyls that have exclusive tracks that you can only get if you buy the vinyl or the CD. So that's an incentive for them to go out and buy those, because you know most people don't really. I feel like people have vinyl players, that's become like a more regular thing, but CD players, I mean, you really don't see a lot of people with those anymore, but they use that, or like alternate covers. Like there's some people that'll buy every alternate cover that they have for that album. So I mean, they get their sales in that, but stream-wise, no. They really make it off of their CDs, vinyls, and their merch, and then tour, which is why most artists tour after they release an album.
That's a good point about vinyls and CDs, although people don't use them. But vinyls have been coming up, and they sound very clean. When's the last time you've heard of vinyl?
I mean, I used to have a friend that, like, loved vinyl. She had a whole vinyl collection. She had a vinyl player. So probably not since then. I've never owned a vinyl player myself.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I've had friends that have. It's so crisp and clean. Like, you can tell the sound difference from that versus like any speaker that you're typically using, because the output is just, it's perfect. It's just that streak in the line going through, unless it's messed up, which vinyls have had before, because I've heard that where I'm like hearing, it was Kanye West's album with, and I'm calling him that because at that time he was that name.
What is he now?
Yay.
He doesn't go by Kanye at
No.
all? Like, if somebody called him Kanye, he'd just, like, ignore them or beat them up?
I don't know about beating them up. That sounds like criminal charges, which he already has enough to deal with his wife. That's not so much against her. It's kind of just the whole way that he's been about it. I can't remember the album. And I want to say it's Fathers All Down or something. Fathers Part 1 and Part 2. It's that album. It's the Orange album. I feel like I should know
Like,
this.
I can visually, like, I know what you're talking about. I don't really listen to Kanye music, so I don't know what the album name is.
Yeah. I mean, I've listened to a lot of his other stuff. Album.
I feel like I like some of his older stuff, but I haven't really listened to anything newer.
The Life of Pablo. Come on, man. I feel like I should have known that. But it's been a while since I've listened to that album specifically. I ain't trying to pull that up. Let's go back. Specifically, I've heard it on there, and it was scratched, and you could just hear, like, it was skipping songs and going into other
It'll
things.
do that, yeah.
I'm like, ooh, that's not good.
That's like with CDs, though. You know, like, you always had to make sure you didn't scratch it, or else it was gonna, like, it would only play up to song 5, and then it would just be blank after that.
Yeah, that's the sad part about those, because they can break, whereas digitalized they can't. There's another method that they can use too that I don't know if you've heard about.
Live singing.
Live singing? Isn't that just concerts?
No, they actually go to your home and start singing to you.
Oh. I mean, okay, so you bring up something interesting on Spotify, they have that too. Do you get the notifications to where, like...
I don't have Spotify. I have Apple Music.
Oh. Loser.
So many people have said that, but here's the thing. Somebody tell me, what is the difference between, like, what do you get more on Spotify that I don't get? Like, we get the same music. It's the exact same price.
Okay. What about how you listen to music? When you're done with an album, does it go to something that's recommended, or does it just stop?
No, it stops.
That's why. The recommendations are really good about discovering more music, is what I've noticed.
There's areas where you, like, there's whole playlists curated just for you of,
Same
like,
with Spotify.
songs that, like, hey, based off of what you listen to, like, here's some new music for you.
Yeah, but you have to go into that. Whereas when the song ends on whatever album or song that you're listening to, even on your own playlist, it will go and it will suggest like 7 or 8 more songs below it. I'm not trying to sell it either. Fuck Spotify. But what I'm trying to say is that the way that their algorithm feedback works, that's where it's useful, because I've discovered a lot of good songs because of that. Rhapsody, not how we pronounce it, is completely something else. I always say it wrong, and I'm okay with that. But basically, it had the music player. We had it back in the day on our MP3s. They did well with that too, and then they went out of business. But they did well about sorting that and being able to expand, but they weren't as well with it as Spotify is. I think they turned into Napster, and then they ended up just going bankrupt because Spotify and them were taking over. So I think that's the big hype around it, is that you have better algorithmic ways of doing it rather than just being stuck on the end of an album. YouTube does this too, but I've went away from YouTube Music because their app typically has a lot of problems, and I don't know. Spotify, it does better with suggestions, I've noticed too.
Their ads have been insane on YouTube. The Pilates I do, it's through YouTube, this girl's YouTube channel. And I don't know what it has been recently, but it is like an ad every like 2 minutes. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of a workout right now. Why is there an ad popping up on the screen?
YouTube Premium, thank you. But I don't have it right now either. I've changed my card multiple times, which that's stories in itself. But I've had ads as well too on stuff that I've listened to, but not that consistent. I mean, it's not like you're watching YouTube all day, is it?
No, like that's the only time I go on YouTube is to just do my workouts. And it's just like, it used to not be bad. It used to be like one or no ads, or the ad would be at like the very end of the video, which I'm like totally fine with. But it's like right in the middle. It'll just like, you're in the middle of like a workout set, and then it's like, do you want to eat at Subway? And I'm like, no, I don't want to. So I'm like stuck there because I'm like, I don't want to stop like in the middle of a workout. Then I'm going to mess up the flow. But then I'm like, I don't want to keep going because then I'm not matched up with her anymore. So I'm like, I just going to sit here.
I'm thinking also with that too is like, I mean, the best way to go about Pilates in that way, right? Have a Subway sandwich in the middle of your pose. I mean, it just makes sense. Then the Subway ads are like, okay, we've already sold to her. Let's give her another one. President Joe Biden is running for here, and we're going to give you better health care. That's the ads I've been getting since I haven't had YouTube Premium for a few days. But
for a few days?
It's been like a week or so. It's a fucking drought. Please send help. But yeah, I haven't had that for a few days, and it's because I've had to update my card twice now. Number one, fuck the toll system. I'm okay with that. Come after me, motherfuckers. But two, there is something that occurred. So for the whole audience too, I was at Best Buy trying to make a purchase, and it was over a $2,000 purchase. And I specifically have like a credit union for a bank. If you want, I can give you my account number too. But this
don't forget the routing
and the address. So I was there, and not at the bank, but I was trying to purchase something at Best Buy, and I went through the first layer of protection, which is, you know, last four of the social, your PIN, all the normal stuff that they do. And then they were like, okay, they went to another layer of security. They're like, how much do you make on your loan payments and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I went through the extra layer of security. Why can I still not get my thing? Like, why can't I still have my own money? So what I ended up figuring out is that Visa themselves counted it as fraud since it's a Visa card. And I was like, what? And for my own money, I can't access my own money to pay for something. And they were going to have to send it to the managers. So I already went to one department, but then I had to go to the managers of that to see if they can actually get me through it or not. But it may have just been a Visa thing overall where they're just like, so many fraudulent activities have been happening, so they're just not allowing payments, which I ended up figuring out days later when I was trying to purchase the phones at Apple because it was over a $2,000 payment again. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? So like, I'm just going to go pull out cash and do it myself. And that's when I'm questioning. I'm like, what are the banks for then? Like, why can't I purchase things with my own money?
Then? If you're still pulling out the money from your account, why does it matter if it's coming out through cash that you're pulling from the bank or from your card?
And I get the fraud part of it. Like, when they block it for that reason, I get it. But why, if I've already passed the extra layer of security, why don't they have access to unblock it to me? Are they untrustworthy?
Like, it's not really him. He had hair last time.
Wait, how do they know that over the phone conversation?
They know everything. It's your it's your FBI agent that watches you.
Your fellow
He
FBI
let them
agent.
know. He's like, hey, Visa, he had hair last time. I don't know who the fuck this is.
This looks like fucking Donald Duck on meds.
On meds? Like, is he okay?
No, not really. Usually there's a little bit of fur at the top, but I don't have any fur. So that's why I'm on meds.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Donald Duck here. Please don't take medication like me. You will get rashes that you cannot see internally.
I've never heard of internal rashes.
Yeah, it's deadly. It's like the bubonic plague.
The bubonic plague?
I said the bubonic. The bubonics plague. They came all over Texas during the spring.
We didn't know what to do. They came in our home. They knocked on the door. They said that they were with Pizza Hut, and they came in and just started living here for free.
They took all my motherfucking sauerkraut.
They used up all my soap. Now I have to go to the store and buy more.
They plunged the toilet for me when I shouldn't have. I wanted to do that. What if there was actually an infomercial of that? Like somebody's like, man, my toilet's clogged again. But the plumbers keep coming to my house and offering to plug it for me. It said plug it.
They're having to plug it on the walls.
They just keep going up the walls and they keep climbing them. My toilet, I don't even get to do it anymore. So what I did is I took an RPG and shot it.
Now there's no toilet.
And they're like, do you want services today? Do you want to not feel like that person right there on the infomercial? Call me, Medical Donald.
Wow, I didn't know that he had services.
Dude, he has so many services. He can cut down trees, he can cut down your house, he can cut down your toilets.
Cut down your house. What is he cutting your foundation out? Or
He will grab a Mr. Gutsy and take one of his chop saws and start cutting your house shortly.
what was your thing about Spotify though? What is your beef against them? I feel like we didn't get to that point.
Well, no, the beef was in terms of like how the pay structure is. Like the billionaire is making so much, but the people who are actually using the platform aren't recognized. YouTube has done recently where, I mean, you don't use YouTube, but they have where smaller creators are actually getting recognized now. Like they had a meeting about it. It's this channel called Think Media is where I learned it from. He actually is very good. Camera work, he's definitely had a lot of production over time. Definitely a lot of different parts of his channel. But they had a large meeting in where they had a bunch of different speakers. And right after that, he was talking about how YouTube is doing that. And he asked, he's like, are y'all noticing that shift that's happening to where smaller creators are coming up on your feed? And they're like, yeah, I've noticed that. Like people who barely have any subscribers. Like people who, their thumbnail is literally a letter. Like your Google letter. That's what it is on there. And it's like, okay, but it's fine if they're just putting out like 1 or 2 videos. But if you want to be recognized, like you got to build other parts of the channel as well too, to make it seem like a community. Like us, we're very small in a manner too, but we have a lot of different layers set up to it. Not only on just one platform, but on multiple platforms as well too. Plus we have a lot of content. So if somebody wanted to go back and look at stuff, they at least have content to look at. Whereas if you just have a few things, you're not going to be able to push stuff out.
Yeah, but it might motivate you more if, like, you notice, oh my god, I only posted 3 videos, but now I'm getting recognized. Like, it's good that YouTube is doing that, because I feel like people get really discouraged when they start posting. Like, when I first started posting on TikTok, I was getting, like, no views at all. I was getting, like, 5 views, no likes, no comments, nothing. Some of mine weren't even getting views at all. And it's discouraging. Even now, I'm stuck in like 200 viewed TikTok jail, is what they like to call it. I don't get over 200 views. I know we get more on our TikTok, but on my personal TikTok, I don't. I've been getting more like interactions, like I've been getting more likes, and people have actually been commenting on them, which is good that I have that engagement, but I'm just stuck in that 200 view jail. And it's hard because I'm like, I want to continue posting, but sometimes you see that and you get discouraged. You're like, what if people don't like what I'm posting, or they don't want to hear what I have to say?
I think there's multiple methods about that, but you bring a very good point. Motivation is very hard. It's probably one of the hardest things because you don't know if it's something that you want to continue doing. I've had it happen even with this podcast a few times. Like when I kept having all the problems with getting out episode 30, I'm just like, is this supposed to be the end? Because it just seems like we're never going to get the next episode out because I kept having camera problems. But I think it's when you run into those issues is that should be your encouragement to move forward past that. But it makes you question what the point of doing it is. And I think that's ultimately where people can easily decide, well, we don't need to do that anymore. Because it's like you've come to your own conclusions and rationalizations rather than looking at it in the broad scope picture. Maybe you're doing something with your methods that should be changed.
That's how I try to look at it too. Like I try to look at other people's TikToks and be like, what is it that they're doing that I'm not doing that maybe I should change? that's, you know, not working for me. Like I used to only post like once a day. I would post every day, once a day. But I noticed that like it doesn't really help. And there were other creators on there that are like post at least 3 times a day. Like keep posting and like it'll get out there. Also, there's I guess this review period on TikTok where like if you post a video, like TikTok will go and review it. So your video might blow up like weeks after you post the video. Because TikTok might push it out if they, you know, review it and they're like, oh, actually, we want people to see this. They'll like basically promote it for you and push it to people's For You page. So, I mean, at first it might seem like, oh no, like my video's not doing good, but a week later it might get millions of views, which has happened to a lot of people. And that's why a lot of people like talk about TikTok and being like, keep posting, be consistent. Like, even if you don't like the way, you know, you look that day, or you're like, ugh, I don't want to post today, just post it. Just post a video. Like, you never know where it's going to go. So I've been posting at least 3 times a day now to hopefully try and help.
Yeah, I mean, again, content is very important. And this is where like quality and quantity come in a factor, because eventually when you start getting traction, that's when you're wanting to up your quality, because now you have the base of individuals. Now it's about expanding off of that into something more. And that's a big thing that I remember talking about early in the podcast too with Gary Vee, because that's all he talks about is just post, 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 do as much as you possibly can. And that is something that we haven't done too recently with stuff, because I haven't really made any shorts with what's been happening. But I noticed even when I started promoting, because I just like testing different methods to get an understanding. Like there were some very good ones that were doing like 10,000 views on Facebook. But we also have to know who we are presenting to on the different platforms, because somebody is going to reside with something that might be said by you or by me, like we talked about the other time. Somebody's going to reside with one of us more in the content that we're saying. But our age groups are going to differ. To get the attention of somebody on TikTok is actually pretty easy in the scope of understanding it. Creating it's hard in terms of how I see it. Because what you need is something that you need your thumbnail to really change. That's what I've noticed with each one. And that's why I started messing with thumbnails recently, is because I'm starting to see, okay, that is the first thing they're going to see. The very beginning of your video is the first thing they're going to see. How do you keep them engaged in the first 3 seconds? Especially on TikTok. Because the teenagers' minds, and I've saw this firsthand whenever I saw like 12-year-olds watching videos. They were watching a video that would have like, within 5 seconds, it would already be another shot and another shot and another shot, or something would be moving in it to where it's engaging. And that's the crazy part, is the attention span is so much smaller. But you get somebody on Facebook, they like the longer form portion of it because they want to hear your whole point, which I've heard that from older individuals telling me that. They're like, hey, you should like actually make your shorts to where it's a longer point. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's the trend. And it's because the processing of information is different between the two. Now, that's not to say that older people aren't engaged in more stuff that are fast and rapid, because there are some that do. But if we're talking about majority in both situations, yeah, you can see where content on each side is important. But I also see with all of the quantity that you're building, there still has to be that quality that you're building behind the scenes. There still has to be something that is your big project that you're going to release. And I think that's the manner of what's really going to tie in people. Because they do it with TV shows. TV shows will have like a bunch of different shows, and then they'll come out with a movie of it. And people like watching the movies because they're tied into all of it. Anime does this a lot, typically that genre, but just any genre that does that, they like seeing the combining factors.
I feel like they typically did the like shows with movies really back in like the Disney days. You saw that a lot, where like they would end a season and they'd be like, oh, the movie's coming out. But I feel like you don't see that too much nowadays, unless they're like ending a series. Then they might do like a movie for it if they didn't end it like on a good note, or they left it on a cliffhanger and, you know, they didn't get signed for another season. Then they'll typically do something like a movie to kind of wrap everything up. But I feel like you don't see that as much. It's just like, oh, here's a new season.
It's all about what plays a part of that story, what's going to keep you engaged to that story, but what is authentic about it. Because at first, like, that's why, like, the first movie that you see or that first season, you're like, I don't know if anything else can beat that, because it's that good and formulated. But somebody can carry it on, but the longer you go, the more, like, it's like the eating the cookie scenario. The first one is absolutely wonderful because you haven't eaten, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Unless it's pistachio flavored.
Yeah, and then you spit it out and then slap Squidward in the face with it. But then you go into the next one and the next one, and eventually it can fade out into something, or maybe it might build itself back up. It's determined by, like, how much, I think, work, authenticity, what creative energy is being put into that. That's ultimately what makes a great story. Like, one of the shows that I've been watching that I'm waiting for it to be dubbed because I don't understand the sub version, and their voice actors are completely different. Difference between sub and dub: subtitles, it's in Japanese. Dubbed, it's in English, and the subtitles are in English too. But I just usually watch the dub version because that's what's mostly been out. But they have this new season where I'm having to wait because it's 2 weeks behind where it's actually at with the episodes. So one just came out today again for the next episode on it. But that show, in terms of what they're teaching, is just, it's crazy because it's a cartoon, but it has so much wisdom. And I've noticed this about, like, a lot of Asian shows too, not just under the anime series, but mostly in regards to that. There's always deeper meaning in a lot of what they're doing, their fights or however they're portraying it. And I'm just like, this is something that is not in American culture. Like, I'm not saying that all TV shows don't have a meaning and purpose. It's just like the empowerment of yourself is really shown in those, which is crazy because our Western principles and ideologies point for us to be like that within ourselves. And Eastern traditions are not like that. But in their shows it is. It's just an interesting yin-yang in effect there, because there are shows that just display so much, like, interesting intellectual wisdom inside of them that you can actually use from them. And I've gravitated toward that recently because my group of friends are very much into anime, and I was highly against it. I absolutely hated some of the first ones that I saw, like Pokemon. Absolutely not. Get that garbage out of here. Was not a fan.
You just offended all of the Pokemon fans.
Yeah, I mean, they might even play Pokemon Go too. Just not a fan. I'm not a fan of it. I thought it was garbage when I first saw it, and I remember when I saw it, I was in 6th grade, and I was like, why is this a thing? But then I started to realize, even with all their anime, because of how I was used to cartoons, the anime and how they configure, I just feel like it's so weird, like, in terms of how they did it. But then I adjusted to it because I'm like, okay, I see that there's more meaning behind it. These shows have something that you can take and actually use and apply within your life. But that's why I listen and work on those shows, because that's important to me. Or ways, if you have a family, if they're watching sitcoms, that makes sense because it's a family that's around and doing stuff like that. And then for your series, you typically are watching, like, drama-related series, and there's always some, like, mystery behind it, I would say.
Ooh.
Is that true? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just where we lie when it comes to those things, and each one's different. But that's the interesting part about TVs and shows is, like, that story somebody's going to attach to, and they're going to enjoy it, but it has to get that traction. It has to get that attention of going somewhere. That's where these different areas are like, hey, like, you know, we'll feature it on this thing or do it like that. That's where the marketing aspect comes in, where other people, they're trying to help you, but there's always a cost to that, because that's bartering in and of itself. If I have one cheese dog and you're like, you have a corn dog, we're fighting.
A cheese dog and a corn dog.
Yes, a cheese dog, which is those little Oscar Mayer ones with the cheese inside.
Ew.
Absolutely disgusting. Those were not that good. Okay, at first they were good. Over time.
No, they were never good. They were always nasty.
She's like, I flushed him down the toilet every single time we got a package of those.
The cheese ones are the worst, but the corn dogs were nasty too.
What? I thought that, what about the pancakes and sausage
Oh,
ones?
that one was good.
Okay, you're okay with that.
Yeah.
You're like, it's breakfast, sugary.
I love breakfast. Breakfast is just such a good meal.
Then why do you skip it? Why? Don't let her advocate this. This motherfucker doesn't even eat breakfast. She eats lunch.
This motherfucker doesn't have time to make
No,
breakfast.
she chooses not to
I
make
need
time.
a personal chef. Who wants to be my personal chef?
Yeah, she does not
I
like
will
cooking.
only pay you in bottle caps.
She's got bottle caps for days. If you're looking to be in the Fallout world, let us know in the comment section below.
I just need it to be like already made so I can just grab it and go. Because here's the thing, I value sleep more than I value anything else. I would rather spend more time sleeping than I would to get up early to make myself breakfast.
Oh my gosh,
I'm so sorry to say it. I think honestly, I really think it's just because I don't go to sleep at a good time because my brain doesn't shut up and I can't go to sleep.
No, it's because you're not using your energy to go to sleep. We could go to sleep at the same time.
Okay, let me put my energy. I'm gonna put it with my sleep.
Well, do you do any relaxing principles? Probably not. You're probably watching something and you're like, oh, I'm not tired yet. And oh my God, this is good.
Do I eat my pillow?
No, you chew on it. Oh.
No.
But you don't have relaxing principles, and I think that's the problem.
So what am I supposed to do?
Breathe. Meditate. That was not okay. That was so forced. You have to do it in a different manner. And I don't use meditation to go to sleep all the time. I just naturally become tired, like throughout, the day with doing all the stuff that I do. That's what has to happen. There has to be more activeness when it comes to stuff, and then you become more tired.
Is working 9+ hours a day, that's not active enough?
Well, I do more than 9+ hours a day, so I don't know what you mean, cuh. But also it's about how you're going to sleep as well too. Like if you're watching something beforehand, what I'll normally do is I now have a new routine where I'll be on the computer or like on my phone doing something, but then I'll go take a shower. Well, before that I'll do the dishes, clean up everything over there, and then go take a shower. And then eventually I'll usually become tired by that point. And then I'll do, if I'm not really like falling asleep, I'll do breathing while I'm in my bed. I'll do like box breathing is what they call it, which I think we talked about in the very early episodes, but it's 4 in, hold for 4, release 4, release the very last for 4, and you just repeat that. So that is what I would do if I can't fall asleep. But we go to bed around a similar time sometimes. Like 11, 12 o'clock, that's typically the range that I've been hitting recently, but I still get up at 6. I don't even set my alarms. I've actually moved to where my phones are not even near me. I have to get up to go get them now because I don't want to be in bed. The first thing that I'm looking at in the day is picking up my phone, which it's not technically when I'm in bed, but it will be when I get up though, because I immediately go turn on Instacart. But then I'm not too worried about using it at that point, but I have to train myself to do that. Plus, it's just not good to have fucking sleeping next to radiation. Like, I just don't want that near me, and because I understand as I'll sit in my bed and I'll feel even more tired and I'll be looking up all this stuff and I'm like, is that using my time as best that I can to what I'm trying to make? No. But I will go look at those things afterwards, like go to the bathroom, eat some of the dish soap, and come sit down. Normal routines. And then come like sit down, and then I'll start looking at some of the stuff that I'm working on during the day, and even wait for orders too. I'm changing what we were just talking about. We have to be flexible in our methods of how we do something. Like how we're, making different TikToks, having different titles, knowing how to move and navigate that to bring that value out to other areas. Because there could be somebody who's they roam Facebook all day and have never seen one of our videos. Same with YouTube. YouTube doesn't even get over 100 views in most cases. So people aren't going out there to just look at it. It has to be brought to them in a manner. And that's where it comes on 2 fronts. There's your front, just going out and talking about it in a sense. Not that there's a lot of people to talk about it, at least at the moment, but over time it starts to expand into where people become interested. But it's all about how we advertise it to the other individual, which I've noticed it's hard to pinpoint exactly what we talk about in a manner, but I can just talk about communication is where it's key, but it's not focal pointed into like, oh, it's psychology or oh, it's humor. It's a mix of that, because one thing that I've noticed about podcasts that I specifically don't like is when it's targeted to just that one thing. Although I know people love that because they want to find that. But what about the people who are trying to learn about a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different things? I think that's something that can be harnessed in the way that we're creating something with this, because that is communication. It's having so much vast parts of information and allowing people to hear these different points and comment onto the ones that they resonate with. And that's what I would like to see in podcasts, is where it starts to become a lot of different information within one, because then it draws the audience to be like, they said this within the podcast, okay, where is that? And then they start listening to different parts and they might attach to different parts of it. It's not necessarily a marketing technique. It's just something that I've always wanted in podcasts that I never can seem to find. Like when I'm trying to look through podcasts, I'm like, who's going to supply that? Because everybody's always based in some sort of category. And it's like, where can they find a broad aspect of categories to where they're not just learning about one thing, they're learning about multiple things. It's just you have to find that. And that's why our video titles are so long, because it gives you different portions of that. Now, it'd be better if I was able to put what each portion was in that and have a little bit more structure in it so we can hit on these different things. I also just don't want it to be where the communication is so structured where we're like, I'm a dictator today. And then we're just going to talk about this. We're going to talk about how tables are manufactured. And then we have to feel like we're always stuck in that sense of conversation instead of flowing into how conversation should naturally occur.
Slay. That's my new word.
Yeah, it makes sense being a dragon.
I meant slay as like slay, not like slay.
Wow, that was a real Viking right there.
I thought you said I'm a dragon. When did I turn into a Viking?
Well, Vikings slay dragons, right?
But I'm the dragon, so am I being killed or am I killing?
You decide.
Sounds like a video game.
No, it could be. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty like that. There's a lot of Viking video games. I don't play them specifically, but
Yeah, you do.
I know somebody who literally has a lot of Viking gear. And then it's like, arg, me mateys. And then I'm like, that's a pirate. Thank you, Patchy. Yeah, he doesn't say that.
If that's your story.
I rode it. Just like I rode the bike into a ditch.
Are you okay?
Not really. My bicycle pedals are really fucked up.
Do you even have a bicycle?
No, the one that I did have was stolen. It was at the last apartment complex that we lived at. It was literally stolen within the first 2 or 3 days.
That's because.
And I didn't notice it for like 2 weeks. I'm like, my bike isn't on the porch.
You're like, oh, somebody just took it out for a quick spin.
Yeah, they took it out for a quick spin. Here's another interesting story that happened, which makes it might have been that individual, which I should have locked him in the closet for doing that. There's this guy, so our brother was selling his oven that was sitting in the living room for a while to an individual. Well, he pulls up with the trailer, and there's this random guy that's walking in the area, and we're talking. The guy finally pulls up with the trailer, and we're talking, and this guy just walks onto our porch, opens the gate, goes in there, opens the closet, and he's just like, he's gazing in there, and I'm not thinking too much of this, but then he goes to the sliding door that's to the bedroom and tries to open that, and I'm like, sir?
You were so flabbergasted. You're like,
I don't know if that was my exact response during that. Oui, oui. But he tries to like get in, and I'm like, yeah, like what's going on, man? And he's like, oh man, I felt like there was like another door behind this, and yeah, I mean, yeah. And I'm just like staring at him the entire time, like just dumbfounded by like whatever he's seeing. I'm like, whatever you're smoking, please hand it over.
Like sharing is caring.
Yeah, come on. Have you heard of the Care Bears? Of course he has. He's eaten those Care Bear gummies or smoked them. But then he ends up like walking off afterwards. But I'm like, if we didn't stop him, was he just gonna walk through the front door?
Probably.
Like thinking that we did not notice him, like in the corner of our own perception, like we were that engaged in conversation that we couldn't feel an energy and presence of a guy who had corn dogs in his hands. No, he didn't have corn dogs, but it was just
But
weird.
he was I honestly, it kind of just sounds like he was on drugs or something.
He was. His pupils were dilated as fuck, so yes.
So he probably didn't even realize you guys were there. He was probably just like thought he was about to walk into a portal to the other side or something.
We really thought that. That's like a running joke. Is like he was gonna go to Narnia or something. There was a portal inside that closet, even though it was just a bunch of car parts.
I need to get in here.
He was gonna get car tools and some other stuff getting inside that
That's
closet.
like our closet out there now. Oh, by the way, there are wasps that I think are building a nest in there.
In? Oh,
You should
no.
check it out. I see them whenever I have my window open to use the lighting. I can see, you know, like there's like the door and then you see the frame.
Yeah.
They're going up into the frame. So I don't know where they're like building.
Oh,
a
they're
home.
probably building inside the frame, which is fine. They might not be inside of it.
That's fine. Just let them take over.
Okay, we talked. What's podcast? We might not even have aired this one because of all the mistakes. There was one where I was talking about wasps, though. Oh, and I didn't tell you the most important part,
That
so
you
we
got
can say it on
stung
here. No.
by a wasp and you just let him keep stinging you.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was this. I don't know if we recorded it for the 30th one. But I missed this part. This was the most important part that I discovered. But y'all actually pull it up so you're not like, oh my god, a bunch of hoopla. So.
Is that what I sound like?
Yes.
Dang, I need to change my voice then.
Of the Brazilian wasp, but don't worry about that right now. The venom of the Brazilian wasp Papaya pulsylista contains a peptide called polybia-MP1 that can kill cancer cells without harming normal cells. It can do that.
You were not stung by a Brazilian wasp. I'm letting you know that right now.
Now, that wasn't the only one that was like that. It was saying wasp venom. It doesn't just have to be just the Brazilian wasp.
So then they need to start catching the wasps so they can use their...
they're native to Brazil. That doesn't necessarily mean they're just in Brazil, which makes sense because I can get a ferry to fucking Jamaica if I wanted to. And yeah, I'm talking about fucking Tinkerbell. This was, well, I don't know. This is a darker coating. And it's kind of, it's not just
so
black.
Ugly.
Dude, you and Bugs just not liking them. That's most people, though. Experimental therapy latches to tumor cells and makes them leak vital molecules. And this is where, like...
That says experimental, which means that they actually don't have a for sure answer on that.
Right. I'm not saying, again, that this is, like, absolutely true. I'm just saying the fact that you can see that now, it's not just, oh my god, am I allergic and am I going to die from a wasp?
What if you don't have cancer, though? Then what is the venom doing?
Well, I don't know. We got to look at studies on that then. Which we're not going to pull up because I feel like I'm going to pull up random shit again. It's going to be like, Dune 2, have you seen it?
I feel like I did. How did you know?
Yeah, they have been doing Dune ads, and I'm like, okay, it's on HBO. I've already seen it. Don't send me any more of those ads. But that Kung Fu Panda? Ah! But yeah, they have potentially those with doing that. But that's like any venom, even snake venom too.
Snake venom is curing cancer too?
I'm not saying that it's curing. It's not saying that it's curing them. It says that it kills cancer cells. It doesn't say.
Which means that it would in fact cure cancer
No,
if it's killing the cancer cells.
But it's not all of them if it keeps doing the spread. But it doesn't. I don't think it's like out there a machine gun like, haha, in your body taking shots. It's more of like it can be used for that, and potentially something can come from it. That's why I'm not making the statement.
So
that it is.
capture all the wasps and figure it out.
No, but another part of wasps is that they kill off other bugs that are necessary. Just like any other bug, like spiders that come in here, like, oh my God, they invaded my property. Let them outside to go kill stuff, and they're probably in here to go kill the roaches that you're talking about.
Okay, well, I haven't seen a roach since that
I have
time that
seen
I
one
killed
dead
them.
outside our door, and it's probably because you brutally
Live and
executed
let
him.
die. Do you think that bugs, you know how we look at bugs and we're like, ew, a bug. Do you think that bugs look at us and they're like, ew, a bug? Like, do you think we're bugs
I don't think
to
it's
bugs?
that. It's like, oh my God, what is that giant object moving? Is that a building? Is that
So then
building
they
moving?
land on it and they're like, oh, I need to sting it.
Okay, no. Okay, you're talking about wasps. Not every bug stings.
Bees sting, except for a
They will-
bee kills itself by stinging.
I was about to say, wasps do not, though. So they are absolutely top of the food chain when it
They're
comes to that.
absolutely atrocious.
No, they're not. It's all about the approach of it. Like, the reason why I got stung is because I knocked down their nest.
It's because you let them in.
No, they did not get inside.
You said my heart is open, come in.
Okay, that is true, because that's just like how people can come into your life and then start stabbing you for no reason. It's like, I didn't steal your donut.
Personal experience?
This is not, but I had a friend nematode that had that happen. Yeah, I'm friends with the bugs, unlike you.
I don't like any type of bug. They're ugly. They serve no purpose to me, except for harming me.
So, do you think we should just kill things that are ugly?
Well, no, but like, get them away from me.
Right, but that's your first form of method is to
I'm
kill
just
them.
a girl. Okay.
So you're just gonna kill them.
Well, a wasp, no, I run away from them.
Okay.
Because they could harm me before I get the chance to kill them.
Okay, but you don't even know that. You could see a bug that is harmless, and you're like, I've never seen that creature in my life. Please kill him, and then you step on him. And actually, he was going to give you the kingdom in the UK.
Is the royal family moving out? What's
Yeah,
going
they're
on?
moving on. They had their vacate letters about 30 days ago.
Oh, damn. Well, I killed him, so I don't know who's going to be the leader
It's not going to
now.
be you anymore because you just let that happen. But don't worry, they sent out other bugs just in case that happened to other people like me who was
And they
worthy.
killed it, too.
They killed me, actually.
So they didn't give you the kingdom, so you're
It
proving
wasn't
me
them
right.
who killed me specifically. It was the other kings that came over, and they're like, this bug came to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I had the flying roach that came to me.
Ew.
Yeah, I know. I already knew you were going to have a repulsive statement against it. Like, roaches can go live in hell.
They really can. Listen, flies, okay. Small spiders, okay, you do your thing.
What about gnats?
They're just annoying, but, you know, whatever, do your thing. However, flying roaches. I'm not just talking about your regular roach, the flying ones. Like, why do they need to be flying? Who gave them that ability to do that? Where are they going?
Well, we probably
Are they taking
did.
a trip to Paris?
They are going to the Eiffel Tower without reservations.
And that's why they deserve to die.
No, because, okay, you're talking about the flying aspect of it. Who gave that to them? I don't know. Us who spray all of these chemicals on them and then they deform into many different things. Like, that's where it starts to happen. It's like, we introduce all these pesticides.
Natural selection.
Okay, natural selection, burn them off with a flamethrower. Why are you using
No, but I'm
using
saying
pesticides
like
to kill
natural
them?
selection, like they started growing or having the ability to fly because they were being killed off and they're like, I don't like this.
Exactly.
So now it can fly away.
Okay, that is another form that it can occur. And it's like, I just think when we start spraying them with all these different chemicals, they deform into something else. Like the roaches, I remember at my last place, they had deformed skin because of that.
They should learn to stay in their territory then.
Which they do at most times. But when you come out at night, when it's their time to shine, and some of them don't make it back on time. It's kind of like how Sausage Party was. You don't make it back in the fridge, you get eaten.
I I've never seen sausage party, so I don't get that, but...
Oh, it's fine. I don't even know if that actually occurred, if they did get back in the fridge or if they just stay on the counter and were like, we're revolting. No, I think they did, or they were getting killed. I remember it starts out where like the potatoes are falling in boiling water. Yeah, and then they're like screaming. Just imagine that. You're like boiling potatoes and like it's just the screams of the people.
The screams of the potatoes, not the people.
Okay, but they were people. What if they actually had like, what if they talked? Do you think we would treat them differently?
We still need to eat, so...
So you silence them and eat them. That's kind of how the U.S. government is for us.
That's kind of how every government is, not just ours.
Yeah, that's somewhat true. Actually, no, that is true because they will start eating things. Like when it gets to starvation mode and people need to eat, oh yeah. I've been watching the most boring thing to most people unless like you listen and watch history.
Discovery Channel.
It's not, but you have claimed that it is. It is not Discovery Channel.
It sounds like Discovery Channel.
It's Epic History TV. And
oh, same difference, just history version.
No, that would be History TV. There are two different things. They actually had a History Channel, and it had the big H.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the same thing.
Discovery Channel is like for animals, though, right?
I mean, you're an animal, so yeah, you were on there. No,
I
it wasn't
didn't
just,
ask if
it
I
was
was on
nature.
there.
What do you mean? It's just nature in general.
Yeah,
and Bigfoot.
Animals are in nature.
Actually, what was Bigfoot on? I think it was on Discovery. They're like, oh, we're going to catch him this time. And it's some like very tall man who plays basketball. They're like, it's him. They come into his house. They're like, oh my God, this forest is very weird. It has a bunch of plaques on the wall. But yeah, that's what I think Discovery is about. It's about nature stuff. Like, for instance, the show that my friend's on, yeah, it was about gold mining. So it's all about different stuff when it comes to principles out in nature. It can be anything. Dirty Jobs was on there as well, too, which he just did a bunch of random things. But it was very cool. I would have definitely loved to take place in that.
What is the show that you're watching now?
It's not a show. So it's a series in different points. It just talks about different points in history. It's called Epic History TV. And they were going over back when the Romans ruled back in like 540 to 560 AD, whenever Belisarius, which was one of the commanders, was taking over the different areas. They do a lot of depiction that's very cool. They take a version in games that they can create to kind of reenact a little bit of the battle parts. It's very like graphic with the videos and stuff. Not in terms of like they're eating each other's hands, but what I mean by graphic is they have a lot of different graphics for it, like fighting scenes and how they cut to like the different areas on the map and who's invading what. It's very good on that depiction, but how they lay out the history is also very factual. They have a lot of different stuff behind it. Y'all should definitely check it out if you're even interested in the history side of stuff. But I wanted to learn about that because I was like, when you brought up the Gaza thing, I was like, well, what is actually the history behind any of those areas? Like, where does everything come from? Why is there so much turmoil? And I'm looking at Rome's history and I'm like, damn, dude, how many people are fighting? This was back in the 500s.
I mean, there's still fighting going on right now. Did you know that we're in World War III? Right now?
I mean, you could have made any point of that. Yeah.
But, like, a lot of people don't know that because here in America, like, everything's fine.
For now, I mean, that's just like any other World War. World War II, we weren't involved till later either. Because Germany in that area they were experiencing that before even it was claimed as World War II. They were already doing concentration camps back in, like, the 1920s. Way before it was happening, when America was going into their era where they're like, oh, lush and factory. I don't even know what I just said.
I don't even, what?
Luxury and fashion, but I moved the two words intertwined with each other. Yeah.
You talking about like the Roaring 20s?
Yeah. Where everybody was
Great
like all
Gatsby?
stylish and stuff like that. Yeah. Where it was all about that. It was all like glamour and all that, but not over there. But that's always where there is. There's always a nice light somewhere in the world, and then there's a very dark area that's happening. Because, I mean, that's just yin and yang in play right there, is whenever something gets really good, something is really bad. So that's the unfortunate part. The good thing that's changed over time is that starvation has definitely been brought down amongst a lot of different areas in famine, Like back when they were talking about at the end of the reign, whenever the first wave of the bubonic plague came in, and I was like, oh snap, that's crazy.
There's a lot of famine and starvation in Sudan right now. They're saying that, like, by September, if they don't get the food they need, millions of people are going to die.
I also, okay, you bring up a good point here, because this is where, like, they're going to start charities, and then it's like, does the money actually go to the charity itself?
That's the problem that I have with charities, is I'm like, I know there's a lot of sketchy people that make these charities that say they're for good things, but they actually don't go to these things that they're saying. They go to people that are already rich, that just to make them more rich, which is, like, horrible, because there are people out there that, like, actually need stuff.
Yeah. And that's where, like, we all come to that decision at one point, is where we get a lot of things coming our way, and it's about, like, what we do within that period of time. We talked about celebrities in the last one, and that's where it comes to each individual, is like, if they have an amount to do something, it's not about donating to some sort of charity because a trustworthiness you don't know. It's about directly helping them in some sort of manner. And I understand there's travel costs that come with it, but again, if you have the luxuries of these things, giving it over to somebody else is good. But again, it has to be for a cause that's necessary. That's where, like, standing up to certain things is necessary, because to be at peace, you have to have war happen, because that's going to clash at some point. But to have ultimate peace, if we had, like, some sort of unified vision, which they talk about the New World Order, I don't agree with that necessarily in terms of what they're doing. But what I mean is like, why are we fighting over the places that we have here when there's so much more to discover that we can be able to discover if we put our minds together with that creative energy and create that? Even if it takes 200 plus years, but we have to fight about the things that are here, the materials that are here, just to be able to survive and do stuff, because one person wants to hold something over another individual because they want to have more power and not lose it.
That's the thing about these governments. Like, all of the places where wars are going on right now, like in Palestine, they're fighting over that land because of the resources it has and because they can do trading and whatnot over there. That's why America's backing Israel on it. It's all about the greed, the power, the money. They don't care about people's lives. They don't care who they're affecting, and they just want what they want.
Yeah, and then they ultimately become the thing that they don't want to become, because that's what happens is when you're holding on to something so much, you become that thing that you never wanted to be.
That's the thing that I keep saying about America. You know when they first came over from Europe, and they were like, okay, like, we have our colony set up here, they were still under the dictatorship of Europe. Like, they were all still one.
Did you say a dictatorship of Europe?
Do they not have a dictatorship?
No, not even in current day. They've never had a dictatorship.
There's only one
They
person.
had a monarchy.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a completely different system.
Whoops.
Dictatorship, that's North Korea. But
Okay.
you could say that in certain terms where they start to become like that, but that's one leader typically when it comes to the dictatorship. Not like all the people underneath them.
Okay, but they're not like us, where, like, we have more voices that are
Right.
going
They're
towards-
under a king and queen. Yeah, there's a major difference though. They were not a dictatorship.
Okay, my bad. Monarchy. But they wanted to get away from that. The whole throwing the tea overboard, you guys aren't listening to us, so you can't tax us. And which
then
eventually
we
led to the
ended up
revolution,
saying-
and then they made their own government. They left that government because they were mad that they didn't get a voice, and they wanted everyone to be equal. And now, why is everyone mad at the American government? Because they're doing the exact same thing to us now. They won't listen to us. We don't get a voice. Nobody actually has any rights here, like they keep trying to tell us that we do. And now people are mad.
Yeah.
The exact same reason they left is now the exact same reason people
And that's
are
what
mad.
it ends up happening, is where the pendulum goes one way and then it comes back the other way, because that's what has to happen for balance ultimately. But it's about what side do you play into it. Do you keep playing a part of that pendulum, which swings me perfectly into that point that I was going to make with that conversation, and we'll end it off with this. So this lady that I was talking to today, I was at Home Depot and I was shopping for somebody, and she brought up the food system, and she knows, like, all these different areas, like, yeah, you have to research into all these different things. And it's not that you should know what is the perfect diet, because there's nothing that's perfect for a diet in a sense. But everybody can agree on this. Don't eat processed foods. Everybody can agree on that. But they still do it.
Because it's convenient, and there's also a lot of companies that will lie, and their marketing team will market that this food is like really good for you. They'll name all the things that aren't in the food, but not tell you all the bad things that they put in it.
Right, and processed foods means that it is easy and convenient. What you were talking about earlier, what you would like, unless somebody's going to cook for you, as you stated, right?
Yeah.
So I understand it for the convenience sake and the purposes, and again, it's helped with a lot of starvation and stuff, but this is where the principle comes in, is like, me, I'm a big advocate for food in general. I'm like, you should make your own, but there are definitely times beforehand where I would go eat and have all the processed stuff. But then I realized, I'm like, wait, isn't that just a part of the problem? People talk about, oh, we shouldn't have taxes and stuff like that. Then why are you still paying them?
I mean, you're kind of forced to when
No,
you go
you're
to a
not.
business.
No, you're not. It's how you establish yourself. You were talking about just a second ago, like, oh, people don't have rights. Yeah, they do. It's just that we don't stand up for them. And the reason why is because we're not taught them by the same institution, because they're the ones who set that up. The whole school system is set up like that. And it's not that school is bad. Again, the thing itself is not bad. It's the principle that's instilled and the person instills. And that's where learning and getting the knowledge about it's important. And I'll link this one in there. Inalienable University talks about this stuff. They are individuals where I've learned a lot about stuff. And I've already talked about it on the last podcast with registration. You don't need a license. There's a way to go around it to where the people can get power back in their own hands. Their own inalienable rights. Because your own writing is dead. Which is crazy to think about. Your own writing is dead. Your own name as capitalized is dead. Because it has been signed that way over to those people. But there's a way that you can move around that. And that's where I encourage all the individuals to look at that university if you want to look more into that. Because you can actually get your rights back. Stuff that I've been studying recently and been putting time into has shown that. So I would definitely check that out. But it ties directly into that when it comes to the governmental power not being able to do stuff. But it comes down to the principles. What are you doing to make that change? Because we talk about how all these people who do have money and all these things, if the time comes to you, what are you going to be doing with that? Is it going to be luxury, the glamour, all of these different things? Or is it going to be used for those individuals who actually need it, building up the different areas? And of course you're going to have targets. The government, the CIA, all the operations that we've given so much power to because we haven't taken it in our own hands, that's what's going to happen. And then eventually there will probably be a civil unrest and war to try to collapse that. Because that's what happens within systems, is they'll see somebody rising up and then take them out. Somebody who is a dominant leader that they can see moving the force, that's who they take out. That's what I've been learning about with Belisarius. He literally was taking back the entire Roman Empire that was lost because he had the power of speaking and getting to the people to where they were motivated to do these things. Just like the motivation for a video. Motivation is hard, but if somebody can display that, somebody is definitely willing to drive it home because they see that it's possible. They see that even if that person looks like that, talks like that, acts like that, they're like, it's possible. And by acts, I mean, of course, they're taking those actions, but they may even look like a fool taking those actions. It just starts with that part of yourself becoming authentically created. And you have to move through the judgment because, again, I can be very judgmental as an individual, and so can other individuals as well, too. It's about how personally you take it. Do you take it as fuel to the fire? Or you take it as like, I can never do that again. And that's where the balance has to come because ultimately the idea is to motivate, but every motivation has a different method to how it comes to somebody. Just like our methods have to change on the way that we do stuff because to actually get the full scope of what people want and to be the best leader you can, you have to display the different options and talk with individuals. And it's hard. Communication is the hardest thing, which causes most of this to occur anyway, because somebody is like, nope, I want power, greed, and money. And they refuse to talk with the other individual because they want to live on a beach with their margaritas and just live the rest of their life like that. And that is a travel poster, as Dr. Peterson says, instead of reality. It's not that you shouldn't have that travel and vacation and have fun and do that. It's just when you think that the rest of your life is going to be like that, when life is not built to be like that. We're built to have the next generation come in. And ultimately, you start to see that bleed away because you start neglecting yourself, you start neglecting your children, as we've learned about individuals even earlier today, is how can you have somebody who is a father have a child that is the same age as their new wife? That's just insane. And it's like there's neglect and just going toward those sins of a manner. You don't even have to call them that. It's just attaching yourself to something that's not going to truly bring you meaning. And that's where it comes back to the principles. What do you truly value? What are you putting your time into? And that's where it has to be decided by the individual. So, yeah. With that being said, that'll be the end of this podcast today. Please share, like, subscribe if you enjoyed all of that. We got more to come. Communication is key, baby. Let's keep it that way. Bang, bang.
Bye.